If you're working on or planning to apply for recognition of Italian citizenship by descent or Jure Sanguinis, you are going to want to watch this video where I'll break down all of the changes announced yesterday. My name's Tony Carenzo from Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance, and you can reach us on Facebook via Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance Facebook group, where we keep track of everything that's going on and keep you up to date. Or you can reach out on our website at italiandual.com if you have any questions we can help with. So let's dive into these changes. So this is a new legal decree from yesterday in Italy made by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Italy. View of the decree here. So the Italian government has issued this new decree that is going to radically impact, at least in the short term, the process of obtaining Italian dual citizenship by descent or Jure Sanguinis. And these changes are effective immediately as of yesterday. Now, for those considering Italian dual citizenship or already in the application process, it's really important that you understand these changes. So in this presentation, we'll break down this new decree and its implications and the steps you should take. This decree was issued by the Italian government, again, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, yesterday on the 28th, and there are now stricter eligibility criteria for Italian dual citizenship by descent. They indicate the purpose of this is to address the surge in applications that have happened over the last few years and to prevent exploitation of the process. They feel like there's been a bit of a commodification of Italian passports and Italian citizenship that they're hoping to prevent and make it something that is limited to people that really want it and have a connection to Italy. So I'm not going to get into whether or not I agree with any of that, but that's their statements. So there's two components. There's a law decree that went into effect immediately. This is almost like an emergency decree, and it went into effect yesterday and make some immediate changes. And then there's some law designs, some future proposed law elements that have to be decided upon. So the government has 60 days to deal with this, the government of Italy, and there may be changes in that time. So for now, they've announced a suspension of procedures. All recognition procedures are ordered suspended by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MAECI. As a result, they're canceling all appointments. So if you have an appointment scheduled, it appears that those will be canceled. It looks like the consulate websites have pulled down any ability to make new appointments at this point. So yeah, lots of changes going on. So some key elements, key changes. One of the biggest things is that this retroactively revokes citizenship for people born abroad and who hold another nationality other than Italian at their birth, which effectively resets the status of unrecognized applicants. So the Jure Sanguinis principle has always worked that um, Italian law, those with Italian ancestry who meet certain requirements of unbroken lineage back to Italy are considered to be Italian citizens at birth. As long it used to be as long as their ancestor did not naturalize or become a citizen of another country before they were born, then they were automatically considered an Italian citizen at birth. That was an irrevocable right, and we've seen some moves, including the minor issue situation with a release of a circular in October that has started to chip away at who is considered a citizen automatically from birth. So this decree goes much further in that and essentially revokes everybody's citizenship for those born abroad who were not born Italian, and then you have to meet criteria to be considered Italian. So we'll get into the specifics of that. So again, another couple of key changes. One big one is going to be that there is going to be a generational limit. Um, the generational limit has been set with two generations, meaning that you need to have a direct Italian born parent or grandparent to apply through. And so no more, Italy has had um, no generational limits up to this point on Italian citizenship by descent, meaning great grandparents, great grandparents, all was good as long as they were um, essentially alive and Italian citizens at the time of the Italian unification in 1861. You were good to go. That's no longer the case as of right now. You need to have an Italian born grandparent or parent to apply under. This is something that could change. There have been proposals over the years in Italy was, um, no, the general consensus is that Italy has been very slow to move on these changes. They've been proposing ideas like a three generation limit and language aptitude requirement, passing a language test as criteria for Italian citizenship by descent. Those have been things that nobody's been too concerned about because they've been batted around for a long time and nothing has really happened with them. And now all of a sudden we have this essentially emergency decree and everything's changing. So this definitely came as a big surprise to um, pretty much everybody except for the ministers who made this thing happen in Italy. So it's all a big surprise. Again, it's going to take effect immediately, this decree, but it does need to be converted into law by Parliament within 60 days, and there further modifications may be made. Maybe they'll wind up settling on some looser requirements like a three generational limit. That's the hope. There also may be lots of battles of this thing in court, and it may not stick. So that's the hope for a lot of people as well. Um, Now, to be eligible under these new changes, you must have an Italian parent or adoptive parent born in Italy, or you must have an Italian parent or adoptive parent who resided in Italy for 2 years before your birth or adoption, or you must have an Italian grandparent born in Italy. So those are the requirements now. So that's definitely a lot more restrictive than it was. Who's still an Italian citizen as it relates to this concept of Italian citizenship by descent? Now we've got those already recognized via consulate or comune. Those people are deemed safe under this new decree, as well as those recognized via a court case. Brings us to what's going on with pending applications. Who falls under the old rules, the rules prior to yesterday, uh, prior to uh, 9 p.m. Rome time on March 27th. So it's going to be those who submitted an application to the consulate or comune by that time yesterday, March 27th, or those who filed a court case also by that same time on March 27th, Rome time. Uh, About children, this is a question I've been getting from a lot of clients and people on our Italian dual citizenship assistance Facebook group. What about my kids? I'm doing this for my kids. So minor children now under this new decree um, will not be unless there was a request for registration submitted before has already been recognized. The parent was born in Italy. The parent lived in Italy for 2 years prior to their birth, or the child was born in Italy. So no more automatic recognitions along with their parents when applying for recognition. That's a big change. New qualifications. We talked about this for future applicants, for those applying in the future. You're going to need to have a parent or grandparent born in Italy, no more great grandparents, etc. Again, this all is subject to change, but for the period of this decree for the next 2 months, 60 days. This is what's in effect as of right now. Now, this is another question I'm getting a lot of. What about I had somebody else, a parent or a sibling, already recognized? Doesn't that do something for me? And unfortunately, it does not. Each person is going to need to qualify under this set of rules on their own, regardless of what has happened with a parent or sibling. So, those of you who had a parent or sibling that qualified under a great grandparent, now you cannot qualify through that parent who was recently recognized or recognized after you were born. They needed to have been a citizen at the time you were born and up until you became an adult, which is defined as 21 and up prior to 1975, and 18 and up from 1975 onward. So now you're going to need to have a parent or grandparent born in Italy in order to qualify. And as far as we can tell, none of the other JS rules, Jure Sanguinis rules, are impacted. These new criteria from yesterday are added on top of what was already there. So things like the uninterrupted transmission of citizenship from ancestor to ancestor in your lineage still applies. The 1948 rule still applies. I'm assuming at this point that court cases, 1948 court cases, will still be necessary to retroactively apply the 1948 law to pre 1948 naturalizations or cases. Um, Naturalization dates and the minor issue, which I just described, your ancestor not having naturalized until the next in line became an adult, remain unchanged. Um, Applying in the future also centralized and limiting applications. So one big part of this proposal is to potentially get rid of the whole consulate process and probably the process of applying via the comuni, the various comuni in Italy as well. And the proposal is to centralize. This is part of the future proposal, centralize the processing of new applications under a Ministry of Foreign Affairs office and to impose an annual limit on the number of applications. Something that I read in the report of this decree is that that limit is going to be based on what has been sort of the standard number of cases processed, which is a lot of cases worldwide that are processed. And then it may be restricted moving forward. So it could still be a lot of openings for applications. They're talking about hiring a staff of people and setting up a specific office to handle these all. From what we understand, applications would be mailed in, so you wouldn't be required to go to Italy. But I'm wondering if they make any provision for those still looking to apply in Italy or move to Italy to undergo this process. That is sort of to be determined at this point, whether an apply in Italy directly process will be something that will be a possibility. Just mentioned in the future. This is starting January 1st of 2026. Requests will be mailed. They'll have 48 months to complete it. Communication will be done by email. So it'll be a very hands-off, send your documents to Italy, hope they get there, and maybe you'll hear back in 48 months. In the meantime, it sounds like consulates will probably gear up again to continue processing applications until we get to that January 1st date. Um, so again, on the applying in the future, there are ongoing consultations with the consulates to determine the best way forward. So we'll see how that goes. Applicants are being encouraged to remain patient, review their specific situation to uncover the possible pathways forward. This decree does not indicate that procedures will change for 1948 cases at this point. So we'll have to see how um, court cases, I'm going to assume sometime after this suspension is released and they get this sorted out, that court cases and cases via the consulates and maybe via the comuni as well will be turned back on until that January 1st date where the be centralized to the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs Office. A lot of big question I'm getting from a lot of my clients and people in this dual citizenship community is why? Why are they doing this? So these statistics may shed a little bit of light on it. Basically, what we can see is that the numbers are increasing. These are the latest statistics that were released sometime last year. They go back to primarily 2022. Um, and but I think what really stands out to me about these statistics is you've got 9,000 people processed for Italian dual citizenship recognition in 2022, which is a huge increase from 2021, 27%, and I'm sure those numbers have continued to increase over the last 2 years as well. But the United States only accounts for 3,000 of those across all consulates. Now, of course, there are people being recognized via the courts that are from the United States, um, and and those going directly to Italy and applying via the Comuni as well. So this is those processed specifically via the consulates. But when you look at, the Buenos Aires consulate in Argentina processed over 11,000 in this year. Sao Paulo was the second highest number at almost 8,000. Argentina with over 40,000 recognitions consulates alone versus 3,000 from the United States. We can see that there's a massive scale of applications in South America, far greater than those in North America. And bottom line is there's a lot of people. Um, so, further discussing the reasons why, we look at courts, comune, and consulates, the three C's of basically places where people can apply. The courts have been overwhelmed. There are many courts that have been very backlogged for years with applications. There was a group of town mayors who got together to uh, propose changes to how things are being done, which is part of where this decree comes from. And many of them were citing being overwhelmed with Une level. Um, and specifically, one report that I saw was that particular commune was being overwhelmed by those applying from Brazil. So we can see that um, not North American or English speaking countries are going through this process, but many in Latin America as well. So has a big impact on the courts, the communi, and the consulates. Consulates, obviously, that impact is by country, but that's a massive number to process in 1 year at over 11,000 in Buenos Aires. Um, so kind of going back in summary, what happens next? We've got this decree is in effect immediately. It's scheduled to remain in effect for 60 days until converted into law by Parliament. Parliament may adjust some details. This thing is most definitely going to have some court battles going back and forth. So things very well could change. So you'll want to stay tuned to see what happens. Um, there's the potential already, even as of yesterday when this all came out, there's a lot of talk about this potentially being invalidated based on recent case law in Italy. There have been notable, um, at least one notable overturning of the use of this legal decree because it requires urgency. Think of these are usually things that are going to affect national security, a major natural disaster, something along those lines. So the fact that this is certainly a problem, this does not necessarily meet that level of urgency. It's not something that all of a sudden has happened or changed. This is something that's been going on for a while. So it's potentially going to be invalidated that this is an abuse of the decree system that they have in Italy due to lack of urgency. There's, I think, a potential for modification. As I mentioned, it's always been part of what's been batted around that there would maybe be imposed a three-generational limit at some point in the future, not all of a sudden yesterday, but so maybe this is an attempt to hit really hard coming right out of the gates, knowing that some ground is going to have to be conceded. Maybe we'll wind up with a three-generational limit. Maybe some other things will soften, but for now, um, we're under this set of guidelines for the next 60 days. Also, along with the October 3rd release of the circular that established this minor issue scenario that a lot of people have found themselves no longer eligible because of, we're seeing, certainly the constitutionality of all of this being for, the concept of Jure Sanguinis involves someone being in citizenship by birth. And these laws, like the minor issue and yesterday's decree, are stripping people of that citizenship that they are supposed to have an inherent right to under Italian law, and what many would say is constitutionally protected. And further, really, if you look at this, these two changes, both October and yesterday, they create really a class system of Italian citizenship. If you were born in Italy, then you have rights that supersede those who were born outside of Italy. So we'll have to see what constitutionally holds up. There's many that believe this will not survive a trip to the courts. It will be deemed our options at this point. Well, certainly one that's not listed here is we could throw up our hands and walk away from all of this entirely. But barring doing that, we have the option to wait, see how things shake out over the coming days and weeks, or at least the next 2 months. We'll know a lot more in 60 days, it seems. And the other option you have is to proceed. You can continue moving forward, preparing your case. Some Italian attorneys are suggesting that, especially if you're close, you get your case filed immediately. There are some things that they believe they may still be able to get cases through, so it may be worth doing that. Definitely consult your attorney. Consider moving forward. And if you aren't close, you can still consider moving forward by gathering the required documents, apostilles, translations, etc., to be ready in the event that this decree is modified or struck down in the future. I think it's a good idea. Some of the Italian 1948 case and other Italian citizenship attorneys I've spoken to um, from are saying this. Many of them are not worried about yesterday's decree. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think maybe it would be prudent to keep moving forward and just not taking on major expenses at this point, um, and put yourself in position to apply if something opens up, or be ready if things change. So in summary, we have a decree that's changed pretty much a lot of things about Italian citizenship by descent. This is a retroactive revocation of Italian citizenship for anybody that's born abroad and holds a different nationality at birth. So this is resetting people, essentially stripping them of their Italian citizenship by birth, and now you have to meet certain criteria, which includes a generational limit of 2 generations at this point, which would require you to have an Italian born parent or grandparent. This went into effect as of yesterday and needs to be converted into law by Parliament within 60 days. So further modifications could be made. And future applications are planned to be done through the centralized office in Italy with applications mailed in. So we At this point, it looks like they are intent on getting rid of the consulate system with regard to applying for recognition, possibly eliminating Comuni, and um, we'll have to see what happens with courts, but it looks like cases at this point probably will have to still be held in order to retroactively apply those 1948 laws. So thank you for um, this video. I'm really glad that we could go through all this, and I really hope it helps. Again, my name is Tony Carenzo. I'm with Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance. We'll be monitoring this situation very closely, and you can stay current on the developments with this decree and the whole Italian dual citizenship scenario by joining our Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance Facebook group. Again, that's Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance. There are others with similar names, but that's the one that I run, and we will be keeping everybody very much updated. And you can also book a consultation directly with me on our website at italiandual.com, and we can discuss your eligibility and the details of your specific case. I can help steer you to reputable Italian citizenship attorneys that we're working with to help people with their cases. I can help you understand and navigate these new requirements and prepare the required documents, apostilles, translations, etc., that are required. So check us out at either Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance Facebook group and or our italiandual.com website, where you can book a consultation and discuss your eligibility and the details of your specific case. I hope to talk to you soon, and